In every human relationship there exists a hidden battlefield where the clash of egos determines the quality of connection, respect, and long-term stability. And nowhere is this more evident than in modern dating culture where validation, attention, and the constant need for external approval have created an environment in which one person often begins to assume superiority while the other struggles to maintain dignity. Yet the truth is that ego in relationships is not a gender-specific weakness but a psychological phenomenon that affects both men and women, though in very different ways, and to dismantle it we must first understand its roots and how it quietly operates beneath the surface. Ego, from a psychological perspective, is not simply arrogance or pride but rather a defense mechanism that shields the fragile inner self from insecurity, rejection, or vulnerability. It is the mask the human mind constructs in order to avoid facing its own fears of inadequacy. When a person grows up in an environment of excessive validation, whether through family praise, social approval, or in the modern era, the addictive flood of social media likes and comments, they internalize the belief that their worth is unquestionable, that they deserve admiration by default, and that anyone who comes into their orbit must recognize and reinforce this value without question. In the case of many women today, this constant supply of validation creates the illusion of endless desirability. A woman posts a photo online and instantly dozens or even hundreds of men respond with compliments, emojis, or direct messages, reinforcing the belief that she is automatically the prize, that she does not need to earn respect, that admiration is her birthright. Yet beneath this lies a fragile truth, that if the external supply of validation stopped, the foundation of her self-worth might crumble. For men the ego manifests differently but with equally destructive results. Some men inflate their worth by PR. If indifference and mystery weaken the grip of ego, and if passing tests while living in your frame establishes respect, then walking away is the final and most decisive act of psychological clarity. Because walking away is the moment where words end and actions begin, where boundaries are not only stated but enforced, where a man silently communicates the highest form of self-respect. The refusal to remain in any situation that violates his dignity, his peace, or his principles. In human psychology, nothing is more powerful than the withdrawal of presence, because presence is the most valuable gift one person can give to another. When you remove that gift, you remove the fuel upon which ego thrives, and suddenly the dynamic of control collapses. Many men fear walking away because they equate it with loss of love, loss of connection, loss of identity, but in truth, walking away is not about losing anything, it is about refusing to lose yourself. The weak man stays in situations where he is disrespected, ignored, or manipulated, believing that endurance will eventually earn love, but endurance without boundaries does not create love, it creates contempt. Because what is tolerated is perpetuated. The strong man, however, recognizes that by walking away from what diminishes him, he does not move into emptiness but into authenticity, and paradoxically, it is often this act of withdrawal that triggers the deepest respect and even rekindles attraction, because ego cannot dominate a person who refuses to participate in the game. Consider the psychological impact. A woman who has tested, pushed, and manipulated a man for months, expecting him to bend endlessly, suddenly encounters a reality she did not expect. He does not argue, he does not beg, he does not collapse. He simply walks away, calmly and decisively. At first, her ego may respond with anger, accusations, or dismissal, but beneath the surface a deeper realization takes hold. She has lost something she cannot One of the most misunderstood yet unavoidable aspects of male-female dynamics is the presence of constant tests, subtle or overt, that women deploy in relationships, often without conscious intention, as a way of measuring strength, composure, and the authenticity of a man's frame. And the tragedy is that most men either collapse under these tests or grow resentful of them without realizing that they are not attacks but psychological probes designed to reveal truth. A woman may ask a question that challenges your values, she may make a sarcastic comment, she may flirt with the idea of other men, she may withdraw attention, she may delay responses, she may even pick arguments over trivial issues. Not necessarily because she wants conflict but because her subconscious is searching for evidence. Will this man remain grounded under pressure, or will he lose composure, panic, or beg for validation? These tests are not about cruelty but about biology. Throughout evolutionary history, women who could sense stability and strength in a partner had a greater chance of survival, because a man who collapses under small psychological pressure is unlikely to protect or lead when real challenges arrive. Thus, testing is a form of security seeking, though in modern relationships it manifests as emotional games that men often misinterpret. The key to passing these tests is not to fight them, complain about them, or overanalyze them, but to remain indifferent to the surface provocation while grounded in your own reality. For instance, if she teases you about something trivial, the weak response is defensiveness, explaining yourself, or trying to prove your worth, while the strong response is calm humor, a smile, or effortless redirection, demonstrating that her words cannot destabilize your center. If she delays replying to a message, the weak man spirals into anxiety, double texting, or showing frustration, but the man in his frame simply continues his life, replying naturally when. If ego is the mask that hides insecurity, then indifference is the mirror that forces the mask to crack, because indifference denies the ego what it craves most: reaction, validation, and emotional fuel. And in relationships, this principle becomes one of the most powerful psychological strategies to reclaim respect and balance. Yet many people misunderstand indifference as coldness or cruelty, when in truth real indifference is neither harsh nor hostile but calm, centered, and quietly powerful. Like the stillness of a mountain that does not move no matter how strong the wind blows. To understand why indifference dismantles ego, we must return to the foundation of human psychology. People with inflated egos are addicted to certainty. They expect the same pattern of reactions again and again. And when that pattern is broken, their subconscious experiences a kind of shock, a disruption in the script, which generates curiosity, frustration, and even desire. Imagine a woman who is accustomed to endless praise. Every photo she posts is rewarded with compliments. Every room she enters guarantees attention. Every small effort she makes is magnified by others who are eager to win her approval. And then suddenly she encounters a man who offers nothing automatic, who does not validate her at every step, who listens attentively but does not pedestalize her, who engages but does not chase. Suddenly her reality shifts. She thinks, why isn't he responding like the others? Why isn't he trying to impress me? Why do I feel unsettled by his calmness? That feeling is the ego being starved, and paradoxically, that very starvation often breeds attraction, because what the human mind cannot easily control, it begins to value more highly. The psychology is simple yet profound. Ego seeks dominance, but the soul craves mystery, and when indifference introduces uncertainty, the mind begins to chase what it cannot fully grasp. The danger many men fall into is misunderstanding indifference as IP.